We are live. I've set up all the technology. This is the first time doing it with this new setup, so it might go wrong, but it might go wonderfully, and that's what I'm going to hope for. This is the fretboard. I want to tell you something that you're going to go, doesn't make sense. The guitar, in its standard tuning, is really a 5-stringed instrument, not a banjo. The guitar is a 5-string instrument. Now, that diagram there that I showed you is the simplified version of the fretboard, and I think it's the better one. I'm not a fan of the fretboard that's got all the sharps and the flats in there, because that just looks like visual confusion. There's too much information. If you know what I always say about everything is, chunking is the key to success. We break things down into chunks, then that means that we can conquer this thing, this fretboard here. What do you mean, Ricky? The guitar is a 5-stringed instrument. Well, many years ago, when I was a beginner, and actually I see them all the time in my music school as well, we get these guitars in and it's got what's called a compensated head nut. So you've got the normal plastic head nut there, but just behind it there's an extra fret, which kind of makes the head nut a bit of a moot anatomy of the neck itself. I thought about that and I just thought, well, it's called a compensated nut. That word stuck with me, compensated. I'm going to give you a really cool new way of looking at your fretboard. You're still going to see this, but you're going to see this in a different way because, like I say, the guitar is a 5-stringed instrument. The guitar is tuned in fourths. Once you understand that the tuning of the guitar is all about these fourths, then you really get to grips with why things are structured the way they are. The way we tune the guitar standard is E, A, D, G, B, E. Yeah, so we know it as elephants and donkeys grow big ears. E, A, D, G, B, E. So it starts with an E. I'm going to show you where this all comes from. So we go E, F, G, and this is me getting to the end of my musical alphabet. So we go E, F, G, and then it goes to A. And you can see that what we've done is we've gone 1, 2, 3, 4 notes. So we've gone up 4 notes. Now, you can think of the natural notes on the fretboard as being the same notes in C major and in A minor, because C major has no sharps or flats. So you don't need to start counting up these and thinking to yourself that you need to get some F sharps in there or any B flats or anything else like that. We are just looking at these natural notes. We're coming from this perspective that the guitar is tuned in these natural notes. This is why there's no sharps on this diagram. This is why there's no flats on this diagram. We're only using the information that we have here because we don't want to clutter it up with everything else. So what we've done is essentially we've worked out between those two there. Let's go to the next, and we can see we go A, B, C, and then we get D there. That is another 4. Now let's go from the next one. D, E, F, G. Boom, another 4. We're going to go from the G to the B. This is where you must pay attention. Look at this. G, that's the end of the musical alphabet, which means we have to go back to A. And then we get to B. This was the problem I had. It's like, well, why is that like that? It's such a conundrum. Why did they do that? I'm going to explain why they did it. But let's just finish off the fretboard. So let's look at B. Right, B to E. And that finishes off the tuning. C, D, E. And you can see that conveniently brings us back on that pattern. But we've got this anomaly here. It absolutely did my head in at first. Until, and you might have seen my video where I talk about this. Battle ends and down goes Charles's father. This is really, really important that you understand what this sequence is here. Because this is a way of us seeing across the fretboard. But what it did is it revealed to me, because this here is truly in fourths. B to E, well, that's a 4th. E to A, that's a 4th. A to D, it's a 4th. D to G, it's a 4th. G to C, could you see how if we wanted it to be G, A, B, C, then to get that 4th, we'd have to do that. And then if we wanted to go from the C, D, E, F, that would give us the 4th again. Hopefully that makes sense there, guys. So this is why this is important. And what it was I thought to myself, decoding this fretboard, and it was just like really, really weird. I'll explain. I wrote an A-level music composition based around car registration plates. And what I had to do with that is extract the letters and try and form chords out of the number plates. That sounds weird as hell. The music was weird as hell. But what it did is it put a visual pattern program in my head that made me look for these patterns all the time. And then once I realized that the fourths was this, I thought, well, where is it? Where does it live on the fretboard. And I could see it here, 7th fret, conveniently halfway up. Because if we look at the fretboard here, there's 0, E, A, D, G, B, E. Eddie 8 dynamite, goodbye Eddie. And then if we look at the 12th fret, oh hang on, Eddie 8 dynamite, goodbye Eddie. We get the same thing again. So this, from 0 to 12, is the only territory that we need to think about. And then this here, it's smack bang in the middle. Well, kind of. Guess what I saw? I saw battle ends and down goes Charles's. So you can see there. Now, some people get a bit confused with my accent. I say Charles's, as in Chuck, not trousers. Battle ends and down goes Charles's trousers. Nothing like that. We're not talking about Charles's trousers. What we get is this pattern here. And this showed me how this fourths thing happened. And then that revealed to me, if you look here, ends and down goes Charles's father. And you can see that what happens is it goes wonky. We've got a wonky string pair. The G string and the B string are a pair of strings. The others, they're just even. They're just all horizontal, you can see. But here, they go wonky. So I needed to know why. So I thought, right, well, this is the fourths. All I would need to do then, really, to get this and make it right, is take these strings here and move them up 1 fret. And we get this 1 fret compensation. Like I said with that head note, that idea of compensating by moving up 1 fret, a half step, a semitone, that is going to be the way that you understand this. And this is why I say guitar is a 5-stringed instrument. Now you're going to see why in a moment, because I'm just going to show you. So we have our standard tuning. We've got the 6 strings there. But what made me realise, if I wanted to maintain that perfect fourths, then what I had to do is I had to compensate by moving this. You can see here that what happens is we get E, A, D, G, C. So then that got me thinking, well, is this top E string of this chunk here on the left, is that the beginning of this grouping, or is it actually this B here? Actually, let's just look at it like this. This is the real tuning of the fretboard, guys. This is it. This is the 5-string guitar. A friend in a band was playing a 5-string bass, and it had E, A, D, G, and the lowest string it had was a B. And I already had B as a lower string in my mind from John Petrucci, because John Petrucci plays a 7-string guitar. It gives you a really heavy sound. So this shape here, if I take that there and copy that size there, then what actually happens is, and if I put this over here, you'll see it. This is joining onto this. You can see across here where it says B, E, A, D, G, C, F. You can see how those connect into each other there, C and F. So just spot where that is. Battle ends and down goes Charles's father, which is cool because that's the order of the flats. Let's get rid of that one for now because we've got another one of these. Now, just to show you where that B was before, this is how it works. Hopefully you start to see that what we get, I just call it the forever fretboard. I just want you to see how this just carries on and it steps up like this in this constant stepping up process here. And that's how it works, which is why the guitar is this 5-stringed instrument. You might be saying, well, Ricky, you know, yeah, that's hypothetical, but hopefully you can see just how this all connects. I am writing a book on the fretboard. This stuff will all be in it with a load of other goodies on how to understand your fretboard as well. So if you're enjoying this, you might want to look out for that. I don't know when it's going to come out. It's going to be out soonish. Now we understand that that is the model for the fretboard. I'm hoping to show you how this 5R3 thing, this is why I go on about the 5R3, because it's super important. It's a shape. The 5R3 shape, what we're going to do is we're just going to look at the E shape and how the E shape moves across the neck. So because of this compensation and why we don't tune to these fourths as well, generally. Now you might say to yourself, why don't we just save ourselves a lot of time, Ricky, and just tune to that? Because when it comes to playing bar chords, where you put your bar, you would need another finger to help you to hold that down. It's just easier for chords. Now it is a little bit easier for scales. And let me just show you actually, while we're in this tuning here. So here, in that standard tuning, If these strings here were open, we'd think that's a C major 7 in second inversion because we've got the G in the bass there. But hopefully those of you that are a bit more astute can see that this shape crops up again and again. If I just take that shape there, pull it over here, you see that what we get is the E chord. And this is the 5R3 shape. This is what you hold down with 3 fingers there. You could actually play a C chord like so. And I've got a lesson coming up on playing this shape here because this is an often overlooked shape that doesn't get utilized. So essentially, as we move down one string set from thick strings to thin strings, we can think of that as an F. That's an F chord. That's an E chord. If we switch over, remember we're in standard tuning here. This is an A minor. That's an A minor chord. The shape stays there, but it's changed tonality. It's not major anymore. And that's really important for you to know. And it's because of this kink. You can see the note that is different tonality-wise because we had 5R3. Fifth root major third is this one that's on the B. So this G to B compensation has destroyed our chords, but it's made them infinitely easier to play. If I move this over again here, we get an augmented triad. So we get a sharp 5, the root, a major third. Let me just show you how this works. If I was to take this over here and put it in this tuning, you can see here, that's a C major. Do you know what? Just for the sake of keeping it all in the same 2 frets, what happens is we get a B major there. That should make sense actually, because if I take this note here and I put that there, you see your B7? That's really a C shape. I'll just put it back. Just want you to just give you a little glimpse of that, because once you see these things, there's no going back. So let's take this chord over there. That gives us the 5th, the root, and 3rd of this E chord. However, because we're now tuned in 4ths, because I've altered it so it's not B and E, it's C and F there, I don't need to do that silly shift. That there is an A major chord in perfect 4th tuning. And then this one here, that's a D major chord in perfect 4th tuning. Now you imagine trying to get a bar on that, and some of you might think, oh, actually, this might be the thing that makes the difference. But let me just go back to this shape again. I like to use this as a C chord, like I say. This is why I keep putting it up here, because it ties in with the musical alphabet notes as well. I'm going to swap this one out now. So we have this here. It's in standard tuning. So that's a C major 7. Move it again. We get that E. Boom. Now, ordinarily, when we move along, we get the A chord. Now, if I move that shape along, I don't get the A shape, do I? If I take this off here and just show you what happens. You see, if you look at that compensation, that's with it tuned in 4ths. But with the standard tuning, you're going to see how this works. This is the importance of understanding that compensation between the G and the B strings. But the thing is, can you see where that A shape comes from? It should look like an E shape, but because of the compensation, it's knocked it up another fret. That's what we have to do when we do this. We go up a fret. Let me just take this one away. So we've got that. That's the E shape, the A shape. We had the C shape, the E shape, the A shape, because there are 4 5R3 shapes, really. Right, let's put this one on. If we're moving over this way, we've got the D chord. You can see the D shape is there in its little triangle. But if I put the tuning back, what chord shape does it look like? Again, it's that one that we started off with. It's the 5R3, and this is just the 5R3. This is the way it looks. But because of that kink in the tuning, that compensation there, then we get that happening. So look, just to show you, this is what the fretboard is. So that's the structure that we're looking at. Battle ends and down goes, battle ends and down goes. Because what we're doing is we're tying in that saying, battle ends and down goes Charles's father. That's the important thing. This is more important than you think. When we look at it from the perspective of the naturals, then it will make sense when we start talking about chords, about modes, about everything. It's all to do with this. In understanding this structure, this compensation between the G and the B string, which adds that wonkiness, what it does to the tuning. Even when I do it like that, you can see that Eddie, dynamite, goodbye, Eddie. It's hidden in there. Look, it's superimposed in it. Hopefully, you can see how that makes sense there. Look, it's just one fretboard. It's just one pattern. Battle ends and down goes Charles the Father. And like I said, this one is the order of the flats in key signatures. And that is the cycle of 4th starting on the B there. Not cycling through all 12 keys. This is just going through the notes that are in C major and A minor. There is the musical alphabet in there. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It's all in there. And then if we use it backwards, we get a circle of fifths. F, C, G, D, A, E, B. Those would be your sharps and your key signatures. So this little 7-letter thing, super important. Good thing to do here is to show you how this works using something that I did in another lesson, and it is a way of learning your pentatonics. Lesson 67 in the book, and this shows you exactly how this works. Now when we play our bog standard minor pentatonic, we go like this. In that box 1 pattern, we get this here. 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7. Now that's a pattern that we can reliably use. Now if I take that there, I'm using 3 strings. I'm using a string set. I'm using the A string, the D string and the G string there. Because the way the guitar is tuned, we know that G and B is where we have to watch out for and where we have to compensate. I don't have to compensate on the E, A and D strings, which means if I take this, I can play it in another position. You can see it's the same pattern. Right, okay, so we've gone. Right, okay. Look at that. This is the same thing. And now I have to compensate. I have to go up 1 fret. Let me do it up here. Might be a little bit easier to see. Now you would think that your fingers would go on the same frets. Can you see? Compensate. It's the same pattern. So it does it with chords, does it with scales, and it does it with arpeggios. And those are the 3 pitch elements that we use to make music. Add rhythm, that's what you've got. Pitch, rhythm, and then you've got a heart full of song. That's what you need. That's on the D string. Well, from the G string, we've got to be careful here. Look, G string to the B string, compensate by adding a fret. We're on to the new fretboard here. If you want to think about it like that, when you hit the B string, you're going through the cycle of 5 strings again. Could you imagine how thin the strings would be as they just kept on getting thinner as we went towards the ground and added more? It would be the B string, the E string, thin A string, thin D string, a thinner G string. Yeah, they would get super thin. You'd be playing some strings the width of a hair, like Tony Iommi. Tony Iommi plays 8s, you know, on his top 3 strings, apparently. So we get that there. Look. What I like about this, it gets me in different positions on the neck. It gets me accessing different voices. There is another one. And because of the way that these strings overlap, if you imagine that had a thicker string going up towards the ceiling, that would be a B string, then I would take that pattern and it would be here. I should play the other notes here. But if you think about it, this is the B string, the E string, the next string would be an A string. So what we can do is we could just mirror that, flip it over onto the other strings, because really we're just following that pattern. So that's the same thing. Hopefully that makes sense, guys. So that's a practical use for something that you probably already use. There is another lesson that I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to get into chord tone soloing. I'm going to be using this explicitly. Now, even if you haven't got the book, if you look on my channel, there are 2 videos. I reshot this one. I call it the 3 and 2 pentatonic method, because you can break the pentatonic down into a chunk of 3 like that and a 2. I explained that in that video, and there is a free PDF in there if you want to become acquainted with that. So now, when you go to the guitar shop, you're looking for a 5-string guitar. No, you're not. You're looking for a 6-string guitar. Don't tell your missus that you're looking for a 5-string guitar, because she'll bring you back a banjo, unless you want to learn banjo. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate your time, taking your time out of your day to come and see my ugly mug on the internet. If you've bought the book in the past, thank you. I appreciate it. You supporting my work. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm going to end the stream. Take care. Bye.